Hello, Sara here. Thank you very much for being here and watching this video. I'm going to teach you how to make avocado seed ink, and I'm going to paint some baby avocado plants with them. So I initially filmed this for the Lifebook course, year-long class in 2021. And now I'm editing it a bit, sharing it with you. I have learned a bit about editing since I initially filmed this, so it's a bit slow, but maybe you just enjoy the relaxation. But I'm going to put in some timestamps so you can jump straight to the bit you want. If you just want to watch the ink making part, you'll be able to go to that, and should be in the little slider thing at the bottom, or you go into the comments and you'll be able to click on exactly what you want to watch. So yeah, have fun getting into ink making. If you're interested in more ink making, I have a class available called Ink Naturally with Sara, which is available on the Sketchy Art School, and it has a whole section on different methods of ink making and a whole bunch of portraiture tutorials. So it's like a how to draw faces and how to make ink thing all wrapped into one. And this here, this lovely red color, you can see behind me, is the avocado ink which we are about to make. So enjoy. And if you do enjoy this, please comment, like, and subscribe. And I look forward to sharing more with you soon. So let's make some ink together. Hi, my name is Sara. It's a pleasure to be here sharing with you all. I'm an Australian-born artist. I've been living in Germany though for the last 10 years or so. And in that time I've had 3 wonderful little kids and spent a lot of time with them in nature, and nature has become a very important aspect of my art and creative process since I started making my own art supplies and looking for a zero waste, non-toxic way to connect to nature and bring that into my art, and also in a safe and enjoyable way with my kids. So we spend a lot of time foraging together and making ink together. So I'm really excited right now to give you a little glimpse into the world of natural ink making. And yeah, so super happy that you're here to share this experience with. So for this taster session, we're going to dive into some natural ink making, and it's going to be avocado ink, avocado seed. There are a few different inks you can get from avocado, but we'll be making particular avocado seed ink today. So you'll need avocados. Collect your avocado seeds and never throw another avocado seed away. You can either use them for making ink, or you can grow some baby avocado trees. And the other things you'll need is a pot to cook your ink in, jars, collect jars. I'm often collecting our jars, where it's good to have a mix of jars, some of them nice and big to fill your ink liquids into, and sometimes we'll reduce them down and then you end up with quite a small amount. So a variety of jars of different nice shapes and sizes. Need a funnel to fill into the jars, and sieves, also varying sizes. I have some really big ones. It depends what you're working with. So the pot, the jars, will be cooking in water. You'll need a hot plate somewhere. And for this particular recipe, we need baking soda, and that's going to shift the pH value of the ink that we create, and that's going to give it a really rich dark red color, which is wonderful. And last but not least, you'll want to add something to your finished ink which is going to prevent mold growth. And all of these natural inks, they have their natural processes, and there are different essential oils that you can add. Antimicrobial oils, I use clove oil, or you can just put a few whole cloves into your ink jar at the end, and that will also help prevent mold growth. I also have a bunch of dry, old seeds that I collected for a long time, and I'm going to be adding them to this ink mix as well. But so here are some fresh ones, and you just chop them up. When they're fresh, you can chop them up. When they get hard, like the other ones I've been saving, then they're just like rock hard, and you can't really chop them up anymore. And yeah, maybe I'll just put this over here, and we'll let it oxidize. You see this really lovely creamy color here, and just as it oxidizes, it's going to take on an orangey red tone, which is, I think, really special. And maybe you've noticed it before when you've cut avocados, and be very careful. They can be slippery. Careful not to cut your fingers. So yeah, when you've cut avocados in the past for guacamole, salads, whatever, maybe you've noticed when you've cut the seed that where the wound is, where it's cut, that it starts to turn really dark red. And that is the delicious dark red pigment that we want to recreate with our ink. And getting into natural inks has just been, for me, it's such a wonderful way to just gain a deeper appreciation of the world around me. Now, I can't forage avocados where I live, so this is like the store-bought variation. But there are so many natural art supplies, and it's just, yeah, such a nice way to connect to your surroundings and to gain a new appreciation for color. And with this ink that we make now, we're going to do a drawing of some of these gorgeous avocado seedlings. So I've uploaded some photos that I'll be working from that you'll be able to work from too, which will be in the Dropbox folder. Can't really see it yet, but just at the edge it's starting to turn orange. If we left this for 10 minutes or so, I think we'd really start to see a shift in color. So this is 6 little avocado seeds. The more the better. Like if you could cover the bottom of a small saucepan or pot, and as you're cooking, use just enough water to just cover your plant matter. Because the more water you have in there, you're just going to have to reduce it. It's going to dilute the intensity of the color of the ink. So you just want enough to cover it to get it cooking, so you don't have to expend too much energy cooking it and then evaporating all of that excess water. And yeah, that's it. Let's cook it. So here's my avocado seed preparation from outside, and you can see this kind of milky orange color that we're getting there now. And just as it's boiling, I'm going to add the baking soda, and there are different recipes. I know soda ash is also recommended for using with this avocado ink, and I'm just going to put a couple of spoons of baking soda in here. I don't use exact measurements, but we'll just see what happens. And this is going to affect the alkalinity of the ink, and that's going to change the color. And in this cooking process, heating the baking soda, I think it's going to kind of recreate the effect that we would have from soda ash. And we'll just continue to cook this for a while, especially with these hard old seeds. It's going to take them a while to really get that color out. So I'll just leave that here, put the lid back on, and let it cook. Here we have the avocado mix. You can see that they've undergone quite a transformation. They look almost black, and there's a little glow of red down there. And so now you can see there's a bit of ink in there, and just going to strain it through to get the big bits out. Just let that drip off for a moment. It's still quite warm, but look at this colour. It's so nice. So with a bit of luck, that's the kind of dark, deep red we're going to have from this ink. So this looks good. So that was the first strain. If there are any smaller particles, you can use a coffee filter, or I've got this finer sieve here. See if there are any chunks in there that get caught on the way through. And so you can use a coffee filter or a tea filter to strain it even finer. But this is going to be sufficient for today. So here's some lovely ink for us to use. And I'm going to be working with watercolor paper. And this is a German brand, Hahnemühle. And this is quite a heavyweight paper. You don't need to use paper that's quite as heavy as this. But when I'm working with ink, with wet media, then it's really nice to have some stable paper. But there are much lighter weight papers that you can use, and even some sketchbooks which have nice paper which you can use for inking with. And I'm going to be drawing my avocado seedlings here, which I had outside with me earlier. And I think they're really lovely and going to be a great thing to draw with our fresh new batch of avocado seed ink. And now you can use this ink basically with any brush or pen that you have. My particular favorite tool to use is a self-cut pen, and I really love using Elder. And I cut these with a sharp knife, and I really like broad-edged pens. And when I'm painting with a brush, I like to use a flat brush. I also have other brushes. This is a nice watercolor brush, which is great for using with ink as well. You can use kind of traditional nibs. Here's another Elder pen, and these, just as with making the ink from your own foraged supplies, to find your own materials to make pens with, and your writing and drawing tools, just adds another layer of enjoyment to creating the art that we make. So I'm going to use this pen, and I'll be able to show you why I love broad edges so much. They just give such a lovely line variety. You just get a really different, you can get quite fine edges. It's just like a calligraphy pen, essentially. And any of you who have practiced some hand lettering and calligraphy will know the kind of the joy that we get from line variation and the potential that we have there. So I've got these 4 little avocado seedlings. They're all at a different stage of development. They're going to be off to the side a bit. I'll upload a photo to the folder where this video will be. So if you would like to draw exactly what I'm drawing, then you'll be able to draw these avocado seedlings as well. But it's just great to find your own inspiration, and this is something I'd really like to encourage you all to do, just to find objects in nature or even in the kitchen, or plants that you have, anything that you enjoy looking at, enjoy spending time with, just to find something that inspires you, that you would really love to work with. And it's just such a nice way to establish, I think, a deeper connection and relationship to things by really spending time to draw them and to observe them intimately. And I think that's what we're doing when we draw from observation, that training the way you look and observe things is really a special process. I'm just wondering at the moment, how am I going to arrange these seedlings? They have some wonderful shapes. I was wondering about clustering them together, or I don't want them casting their shadow over here, so pardon me while I get organized here. And maybe just a simple drawing, kind of frontal, 4 seeds and their seedlings. I'm going to, because of the pots they're in, they're spaced quite far apart, but I'm going to take the liberty to bring them closer together in my drawing. So I can turn them around any way that I think looks nice and start drawing. So this is the youngest of these 4 avocado seedlings. And now is the moment of truth where we get to see what this ink looks like that we just made. So never used before, still warm. And here I'll just get right into showing you this kind of quality of line variation which I was talking about. So this is one line which starts really fine and gets thick, and I'm observing just carefully the shapes of the split in the avocado seed, and using this broad edge drawing tool to mimic that shape. And as you get to know me and my work, you'll come to know that I love ink, and it's been super important for me on my artistic journey. I've been fortunate to have a wonderful teacher, Rebecca Gay, who told me that I should start working in ink. And I did a mentorship with her for quite some time. I can't remember if it was 1.5 years or maybe 2 years. And throughout that time, she was able to see, we met weekly along with 5 other mentorees, and she would give us tasks to do, and it was illustration focused. And over that time, she would get to see, where we're at, what our strengths and weaknesses are, and I chose this mentorship approach to learning because I really wanted to learn, but I didn't want to go back to university. And what greater way to learn than from a practicing professional? It was really great. So here's the crack in these 2 sides of the seed with the little seedling coming out, and can thicken up the line at the bottom because I've got the light is being cast down from this direction. Yeah, so Rebecca, as we spent this time together, and I was really almost exclusively drawing in pencil, and so she would see how I would have a lot of hesitation and repetitive, blurry kind of lines, which for me has been an important step in learning how to draw. And she was just like, you should start drawing with ink. It's just gonna help you so much, because using a permanent medium that you don't have the safety net of being able to go back and erase your lines, you start looking in a more purposeful way and making your marks in a purposeful way. And because you know that once you put it down, that's what you've got to work with. And it's just taught me so much about the way I look at things and the way I put my marks down. So I just keep looking over to these seedlings as I'm drawing, and I'm constantly comparing the shapes. So without any preliminary drawing, it's really important for me, or this is the way I approach it, to really look a lot at over here at the seedlings and really make an effort to observe the different shapes and the way they interact with each other. And it's amazing just by, if we can reduce it down to abstract shapes, it's quite amazing the results we can get. So rather than thinking, okay, this is a seed and it has this shoot growing out of it, and I'm sure many of you and many of us are familiar with this approach, but it was just so, there was a point where it was so revolutionary to me, this idea. And I think it was from Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, which is a wonderful book. I definitely recommend checking that out. The idea we look at things and we think we know what they are, and then we just start drawing, but we don't really look at what it is that we're drawing. So it's really important to look a lot and not to think of an object as what it is, but just to observe the relationship between shapes. And if you get that relationship right, then it may end up looking like the thing that you're trying to draw. Okay, this next seedling over here is really fun because the avocado seeds are typically have two halves, and this one was quite amazing to see that it's split into 3 sections, so it has quite a unique shape. I haven't seen this in an avocado seed before. I think the split in the seeds offers such a nice shadowy contrast. It's really fun to draw. So of course, contrast, light and shadow. The play of light and shadow really provides our perception of form. So it's really nice to have some clear light and shadow, some clear contrast. Which is something that ink, we can water down this ink that we've made and use it like a watercolor and get really subtle variations in the intensity. And it's like you can use it like monochromatic painting or drawing technique. But if you use it in its really intense form, or ink as we traditionally think of it, it's like a really dark, intense blue or black. And then you really have the opportunity to reduce things to these two values of light and shadow. And it just simplifies the process so much. And I think that's something that I really enjoy, the idea of you look at something which can be an incredibly complex object or a face or a landscape, and you have the total freedom as you draw it to just reduce it and simplify and find your own way to express that kind of complexity in a simplified and maybe elegant way. So not only does this have a really wonderful shape down the bottom with this kind of triple seed shape, but this is the seed the seedling which has grown the most. I'm just going to slide my paper down, make sure I don't draw off frame. So this one has some really lovely leaves growing. And this is the first time I've grown my own avocado plants. Have friends who have many friends. I've seen people growing them growing them over a glass of water, and it was actually Icon, my oldest son, who at the moment is 6. In September he's turning 7. One day he was like, "Can we grow an avocado?" And we tried it out, but it didn't really work. But then I found this wonderful tutorial online from a guy on Instagram called Leafy Lane. And he had this really cool method of putting the avocado seeds in damp paper towel, and it kind of simulates that tropical heat and humidity. And then after, he said a week, but mine took more like a month to start sprouting in this humidity. So in paper towel in a Ziploc bag. So in that plastic bag and the humidity from the damp paper towel, they feel like they're in the ground, in the jungle, and then they start to germinate. So it's been a real pleasure. We've had these on our dining table. So we sit with them at every meal, and every day get to see, oh look, the roots are growing, and once we potted them, to see that watch them growing their new leaves, and this one's doing really nicely. So yeah, just to kind of re-emphasize that the approach that I have here is that I'm constantly comparing the shape of the leaves where they are in comparison to the other leaves. And this is the way I approach any drawing of any subject, is I've observed this curve of the shoot here, and then at certain points along the way I also have this other seedling next to it, and I can kind of to some extent line that up and see how does that look in comparison to this, or where is this shooting off compared to this leaf, and just constantly kind of taking stock of where I am and placing my next line, observing the relationship between the tip of this leaf and the tip of this leaf. And with plants, it's a joy because they're very forgiving. It's a different matter altogether when we start drawing portraits, and if we want to get a likeness, it's also good not to focus too much or stress about getting a likeness, just to draw and let what happens happen. But I know from my own experience that I really enjoy getting a likeness right, and just by a lot of comparison and taking care of where we place the lines and the patterns that we can see and alignment of different shapes in relationship to each other. It's just a really helpful way to get that kind of likeness happening. And so with this third one over here, it's going to complete our composition and our little family of avocado seeds. And if you have chosen your own inspiration, I'd really love to see what you create. And to see what it is that you like to draw. And I think I can almost get joy from drawing anything, but I'm particularly fond of plants and people. Just the process of drawing anything, just a chair or an old shoe, to get into the flow of really observing is such a relaxing, meditative thing to do. And there's a lot of subtlety in the shading on each of these seed pods, but for the moment I'm just going to leave it as it is and not to get too much into that shading. I think it's nice like this. Maybe to give it some sense, give this composition a sense of weight. And something I enjoy doing is just vertical hatching. It's a really simple way to just fill out a kind of darker space and implying that darkness of the soil and grounding the composition of this drawing in a very literal sense. And by using this vertical hatching, it's not as dominant as blocking in the whole area would be, because I don't want it to compete with the dark areas like the splits of the seeds. It would kind of take too much attention away from the dark areas and the flow we've established here. Yeah, so here's my joyful little growing, stretching avocado seedling family. Drawn with avocado ink and an elderberry branch pen. So sometimes you think you've finished something and then you walk away, come back, and then it's like, oh, if I just do this, I think it's going to look so much cooler. It'll just be a more kind of powerful contrast or something. So I just thought if I put a wash into the background with some diluted avocado ink, that the seeds and the leaves are going to kind of glow, and it's going to be really quick and easy to do. So if you've watched to the end of the video, sometimes there's a little bonus at the end, and I love that kind of stuff. So here we go. That may not even need to be diluted. To just fill in this space. I can work with a bit of water as well to just help push it around. If you want, you can really take time and be exact. But I think just a quick wash here, and even just leaving a little space around the leaves and outlines, it's instantly going to have a different kind of effect. And if you want to drop a bit more water in or a bit more ink somewhere, It'll be interesting just to see the way the ink disperses and play around with that kind of abstract quality of just any water-based element material that we use, and work with that kind of abstract randomness in contrast to the controlled line drawing. So this is a nice big thick watercolor brush that I'm using here. It can hold a lot of ink, a lot of watercolor paint. It's really nice to work with. If I had thought about this a bit earlier, I think I would have stopped the painting here and had that kind of reaching out of this box, but just a quick sketch and a fun little experiment with our avocado ink. And I already did this vertical hatching, but I'll just wash over it with this. There's still some of that line work kind of shining through, and just sets up this clear contrast of the bright seeds and the leaves. And I think here with an additional 4 minutes, it's turned it into a really nice painting as well as a drawing. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and yeah, as I said before, I'm really excited to see what you all create. Thank you very much for joining me on this little foray into the world of natural ink making. We've come up with a really delicious, lovely dark red ink with our avocado. So thank you very much, avocados. Thank you to all of you for participating. Thank you, Willowing Arts, for the opportunity to share my love of natural inks. And if you're sharing your work on Instagram, where I'm most active, then you can use the hashtag #DrawingWithDylan. And I'm really keen to see what you've all created. So get in touch, feel free to write. I love engaging with people whose world is starting to open up into the realm of natural colours and ink making, and it's just such a wonderful thing to do. But of course, you can use any medium you like, really. But I have a special fondness for natural inks. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. And yeah, like and subscribe. Please get in touch. Let me know how you went with that. And I'd love to see any work that you perhaps make with your avocado seed ink. So get in touch on Instagram at Dylan_Sara, or send me a comment here. Maybe you're going to post your own video. Yeah, let's connect and have fun in the amazing, magical, wonderful world of natural colors and natural ink.